the religion itself is the antagonist of this story.
What this portion aims to discuss is the mechanism of capture and escape in terms of color in the live show. So as we talked about in the last video, because the Trench music videos use blue light to show the influence of Dema outside of Dema, we approached the show expecting to find blue light representing the influence of the city there also, but we didn't get that far, because we found that the city was consistently represented as black and white. Or grayscale, I'm on the fence. Whether that's the last frame of Jumpsuit after having been captured, or the citizens of Dema doing their creepy Dema shit, or leaving during Nico and the Niners, the return at the end of Car Radio, or the necropolis itself. At which point we cleverly realize this CD we've been looking at for 2.5 straight years is also black and white. So we open it up and what do we find? Naturally, in Legend, the city, in Neon Gravestones, we see the necropolis, My Blood leaving the city, all represented in grayscale. Black and white. Even the Bandito experience uses black and white. And the more you think about this, you're like, oh shit, everything's black and white, and has been. So if Dema is all black and white, how do we get from that to Trench, which is super colorful? Well, I think we can answer this by adjusting our original question to our new information. If Dema is black and white, do we see the influence of that out in Trench? Yes, we do. Notice, by the way, that Trench here is a lot more saturated than in the music video. That's not a mistake. Trench is a saturated environment. So the first time the color desaturates, we go grayscale, is when Tyler turns around like, what was that, a noise? And we whip around the corner, the white light comes in, and we see the bishop approaching. The second time that color drains out of this picture is when Tyler looks up and doubts the Banditos, like he's not sure he can trust these people. I feel like you can't see that. It's grayscale. And we know how this goes. Tyler gets smeared. His poor yellow hoodie is basically white at this point. Heavy Dirty Soul sparks. Fire in the eye, running like hell. Yellow battles it out with red and white, but we know how it ends. Well shit, now you're in Dema, now you're all grayscale, what do you do? Well, I think the answer here is found in the album cover. It's a choice. We want this gray guy to experience this yellow winning, to become like this guy. Yellow winning. It's a word. Look it up. Tell your friends. The point is the tape comes last. The tape is just tape. The choice comes first. Tyler is black and white, grayscale, until he makes his first choice in this song, his first rejection of what Dema stands for. Save your razor blades now, not yet. He gets a little yellow and a little green. And as the song goes on, he gets more yellow and more green. When he physically turns away from Dema, then and only then do we see him in full color. The point is, it's a choice, and I think it's appropriate that it's a mic that, even back in Vessel, breaks the perimeter of the circle. So I would say that choice is a major element of this saturation-desaturation dynamic. Notice how in Neon Gravestones, which is central to this whole narrative, only when he rejects what is pulling at him, only when he says, no, they won't get him, only then do we see him in color. Sometimes it's a little more subtle, like with Fall Away, when he makes that rejection, I don't want to fall away, the color fills back in. Every song has its own struggle, maybe with the exception of like a couple of B-stage ones. I don't know. Sometimes the peak of that struggle is really subtle, really short. Like Stressed Out just has this real quick moment. Grayscale boxes the camera, jumps over the piano, and then he's in color. That was the moment, the gesture of fighting back. Let's talk about this.
There's actually a lot of storyline inside of our production of our live show.
So the show has at times used this retreating, returning, retreating format. Like, we're backing away from Dema, then we're returning, and then we're trying to back away again, but mostly we return. So, Cut My Lips, Spring 2019, we are in Trench. We start off with normal colors. We see some green in there, and some weird-ass trench colors. Pretty normal. And as we proceed, things get a little more intense. We move into this sort of rising, coiling heat, like things might catch on fire soon, which is bad, both symbolically and because things being on fire is usually bad. And with this sort of cage of white light in front of Tyler, we might be inclined to think, oh no, we're screwed. But when the visuals fill back in, we do see Grayscale in Trench, but the lights open back up and let him out again, like a Venus flytrap, letting him go. So it seems you can stumble into Blurryface's jurisdiction, but still leave again. And now here's where an example of plot development comes in. Fall 2019, we start off in Grayscale and on fire. Jeez. We do get a little bit more color back in frame, but we will spend most of this song just inching agonizingly closer down this tunnel and then back again and then closer. And fortunately, it ends on sort of a draw. The lights just freeze in place. We don't know what happens. We don't end up back in Dema, but we don't quite escape either. In some cases, it seems like a win is at best symbolic. Like here, where Tyler jumps down and he flexes, but he's still in black and white. Like at best, freedom is temporary. I mean, what can you win against your own mortality? It's temporary. In car radio, though we're throwing up roadblock after roadblock behind us, we never make it out of Grayscale. Because cameras are usually focused on Tyler, I was very surprised to find that these visuals ended on being dragged back to Dema. But the more you look through the fog and at the visuals, and the way the mask is surrounded by this white light and increasingly entangled with it, you start to get a picture of how mired, I guess you would say entrenched, he is in this situation. And white light as adversarial or imprisonment exists other places too. Like, listen to the drum sound and watch the lights as Tyler punches it here. I have 1 minute left and there's so much I didn't get to. Okay, so to me this heavy green is like the fingerprint of Dema. And it shows up quite a bit, particularly black and white. Even just by the numbers in terms of light and imagery, red is used a third or less than a third as much as Grayscale or white. It's present in almost every song with visuals, creating that connection to Dema. Sometimes very abstractly, giving the impression of something specific, a place, a thing behind the static. Abstract, but specific. What else? The city has been around since at least 2015, gnawing on the bishops claw our way up their system. So has Grayscale as Blurryface's jurisdiction. Trench has been around that long too. Gosh fucking darn it, next time.